Hello Moto GP fans. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Marc Marquez arrives at Le Mans blunt about priorities. Upgrades must deliver consistency before championship talk. The reigning world champion teased parts brought to the French GP after a productive Jerez test, but stressed that short bursts of speed are not enough. He needs a bike that performs reliably across a whole weekend. Pecco Bagnaia admits Ducati are navigating a tricky patch as the factory squad heads to Le Mans, describing a bike that feels nervy under braking despite improved front-end feedback. With wins scarce and race consistency lacking, Bagnaia says the priority is finding the right balance rather than chasing headlines. A pragmatic stance as Ducati weigh aero options and parts allocation across the next rounds. Marc Marquez arrives at Le Mans viewing the next three races, Le Mans, Catalunya and Mugello, as a decisive run to prove whether his Jerez resurgence is repeatable. After breaking Ducati's win drought in Spain, he wants to confirm that the feeling and speed he rediscovered can be sustained across different circuits. Liberty Media's first quarter filing for 2026 reveals a mixed picture. Strong revenue growth for the Moto GP business driven by race promotion and sponsorship. But rising operating costs left the series with a $24 million loss for the quarter. The figures underline both the commercial momentum of Moto GP under Liberty and the cost pressures of an expanding, global calendar. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for Moto GP news update. Ducati has shipped new parts to Le Mans that Marquez expects to see on the bike during the weekend, signaling a targeted push to address balance and handling. The post-GP test at Jerez gave the team a direction to follow, and the French round will be the first competitive setting to validate those changes. Some of them you will see on the bike during the weekend. Bringing upgrades straight into a race weekend is a clear sign of urgency. If they work, the gains can be immediate, but if they don't, the team must quickly revert or adapt. Consistency over flashes of Marquez admits he still finds moments of top speed but lacks the weekend-long consistency required to fight for the title. That inconsistency, not outright lack of pace, is his chief concern, and the reason he won't entertain championship ambitions until certain aspects of the bike are fixed. I show that in some moments that I have speed, in some moments of the weekend I'm there. But I don't have the consistency. For a rider used to extracting performance across an entire race weekend, sporadic speed is frustrating. Durable setup and tire behavior are the usual culprits. Marquez downplayed physical effects from his Jerez crash, describing it as a fast but manageable incident. He called the Monday test interesting, suggesting the team learned useful lessons that informed the parts now being trialed at Le Mans. Quick recovery and constructive testing after a crash are positive signs. The real test is whether the data converts into consistent race performance. Le Mans presents a mix of technical corners and unpredictable weather, an ideal proving ground for balance-focused upgrades. Marquez and Ducati will evaluate how the new parts behave under Le Mans' specific demands and in varying conditions, using the weekend to judge whether the changes translate across different layouts. Upgrades that improve balance at Le Mans often help on other medium-speed circuits, but wet or mixed conditions can both mask and magnify issues. Trailing in the standings and without a Grand Prix podium so far in 2026, Marquez is pragmatic: fix the bike, regain consistency, then reassess title prospects. The immediate objective is measurable improvement in race-to-race stability rather than headline results. When a top rider publicly prioritizes setup fixes over championship rhetoric, it usually reflects a realistic plan to rebuild momentum step by step. Marc Marquez's Le Mans weekend is framed as a technical litmus test. If the upgrades delivered from Jerez improve balance and deliver the consistency he needs, Marquez could convert his intermittent speed into regular podium contention. If not, the gap in the standings will remain a reminder that pace alone does not win championships. Sustained performance across every session does. Bagnaia pinpoints the core issue as instability when slowing. The Desmosedi no longer allows the same aggressive, planted braking that once defined its character. That twitchiness forces extreme precision and undermines confidence into corners, making it harder to convert good feeling into consistent lap times. We have a pretty nervous bike under braking. You have to be extremely precise because it tends to move a lot. Braking stability is foundational. When it's compromised, riders must adapt their lines and braking points, which often costs time and increases crash risk. Paradoxically, Bagnaia says he feels more at the front of the bike this year, yet that improved sensation hasn't translated into the results he expects. The mismatch between isolated improvements and overall performance highlights how multiple small issues can combine to blunt a package that still has clear potential. Incremental gains in one area can be negated by regressions elsewhere. Engineers must find a coherent setup that turns positive feedback into repeatable race pace. Ducati tested promising aerodynamic parts at Jerez, but supply constraints mean the factory may reserve some units for Barcelona, where aero gains are likely to be more decisive. That cautious approach reflects a broader strategy. Deploy upgrades where they deliver the biggest championship impact rather than chasing a one-off weekend boost. I think it might be possible to use it at Le Mans, but we don't have many units. So, in case of mixed track conditions, I don't think we'll use it. Since there aren't many, we don't want to ruin them for Barcelona. Limited upgrade inventories force teams into tactical choices. Saving parts for circuits that magnify their benefit is a common, pragmatic trade-off. Marc Marquez's ability to make the bike work at Jerez underlines that setup and riding style still matter. Bagnaia acknowledges that others can extract performance from the same machinery, suggesting the solution may lie in finding a different balance or setup window rather than wholesale redesign. Sitting ninth in the standings, Bagnaia is realistic. Ducati must stabilize the bike before title talk resumes. The immediate objective is to recover consistent race pace and reduce the bike's nervous tendencies so riders can attack without excessive risk. Le Mans, with its mix of medium-speed corners and variable weather, will be a useful barometer for whether recent test work is paying off. Pecco Bagnaia frames Ducati's situation as a solvable but urgent engineering puzzle. If the team can translate Jerez test learnings into a more stable braking platform and deploy aero upgrades where they matter most, Ducati should regain the consistency that produced their recent dominance. If not, the next European rounds will expose whether the current package can be adapted quickly enough to defend their competitive position. Alex frames his Spanish Grand Prix victory as more than a one-off. It restored the speed and confidence he enjoyed in 2025 and gave the team a clear direction. He sees the next trio of rounds as the test of whether that form is genuine. So, just here will be a really good test. Also Montmello and Mugello. We will have 3 really important weekends for us to test if that feeling we had in Jerez and that performance was just for one day or we can keep it for all the season. A single breakthrough can reset a season's trajectory. The challenge is turning it into a durable baseline. Marquez says the Jerez test delivered a step forward. He regained the braking confidence and overall balance that had been missing, allowing him to exploit strengths like traction and corner exit. That regained feeling underpins his optimism for the upcoming rounds. When a rider recovers a previously lost sensation, lap time gains often follow quickly if engineers can reproduce the setup across tracks. He identified stopping the bike correctly as a prior weakness that hampered his early season competitiveness. The improvements at Jerez addressed that deficit and let him recover time in other areas where he's traditionally strong. I was missing a little bit. I was struggling a lot to stop the bike in the correct way, in the correct points. Braking confidence is a common fulcrum for performance. Fixing it can unlock gains in corner speed and traction. Le Mans, Montmello and Mugello present varied demands, from technical medium-speed sections to high-traction exits, making them a robust sequence to validate whether Jerez was a genuine step forward or an isolated peak. Marquez and Gresini will use each weekend to cross-check setup choices and build momentum. Consecutive events that stress different bike attributes are the quickest way to confirm a development path. The immediate aim is consistency. Reproduce the Jerez feeling, score strong results, and keep building confidence. Marquez is cautious but encouraged. The objective is to prove the package works beyond a single circuit rather than declare long-term success prematurely. Measured progress across several tracks is a stronger indicator of championship potential than isolated victories. Alex Marquez treats Le Mans as the first of 3 litmus tests for his revived form. If the Jerez gains translate into consistent performance at Catalunya and Mugello, he and Gresini can reasonably expect to remain competitive through the European swing. If not, the next few weekends will show whether the Jerez result was a reset or a brief high point. MotoGP's primary revenue rose sharply, from $64 million to $83 million in Q1, reflecting higher race promotion fees and increased trackside sponsorship. Total MotoGP attributed revenue climbed to $94 million from $75 million year-on-year, showing that commercial demand for the product remains robust as the series scales internationally. Strong event and sponsorship income is a sign that promoters and advertisers still value MotoGP's live and on-site exposure. Operating costs jumped from $65 million to $78 million, largely due to higher freight and fuel expenses tied to calendar changes and global logistics. After amortization and depreciation, those cost increases offset revenue gains and produced a $24 million quarterly loss, the same headline loss recorded in Q1 2025. When a sport expands geographically, logistics and operational costs can rise faster than short-term revenue, creating temporary profit volatility. Liberty highlighted that the revenue mix shifted. While race promotion and sponsorship grew, contractual media rights fees were lower, partially offsetting the top-line increase. The first quarter included races in Thailand, Brazil and the US, a calendar mix that boosted promotion fees but also added travel complexity. Different event geographies change the revenue and cost profile. Premium markets can lift sponsorship but increase freight and staging costs. MotoGP is investing in hospitality and commercial partnerships, including an exclusive deal with Quint to enhance hospitality offerings, and is progressing IRTA renewals ahead of the next season. Liberty frames these moves as part of a longer-term plan to scale the championship globally. The start of our season has reinforced the strength of MotoGP as a highly competitive championship with exciting racing to date. Short-term losses can be acceptable when management is deliberately investing to grow audience, sponsorship, and long-term value. Despite the Q1 loss, MotoGP's 2025 full-year profit of $54 million on $573 million revenue shows the business can be profitable at scale. The Q1 results should be read as a seasonal snapshot influenced by calendar timing and one-off cost pressures rather than a structural decline. Liberty's public filings signal confidence in the product while acknowledging the operational challenges of a global expansion. Investors and teams will watch how Liberty manages freight, media rights, and event mix across the year to convert growing revenues into sustained profitability. Liberty's Q1 report paints MotoGP as a commercially attractive but operationally expensive business in the short term. Revenue growth from race promotion and sponsorship confirms the sport's appeal, yet rising logistics and staging costs are a reminder that global expansion carries a price. If Liberty can stabilize operating costs and grow high-margin revenue streams, media rights, hospitality, sponsorship, MotoGP's long-term financial trajectory should remain positive. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your MotoGP news update. And see you next time!